Hello everybody and welcome back to Random Vids. So, yesterday I started ranking all the episodes of the 101 Dalmatians Street series. Unfortunately we didn't get to finish, so today we're going to finish that off, and look at that! We're already into my top 10 favorite episodes from the series. So, once again, sorry about this being two parts, but unfortunately that's just the way that this video is going to end up going. So with that, let's get into my top 10 favorite 101 Dalmatian Street episodes. Start with number 10, which is The Doghouse. So in this episode, there ends up being an incident with the Dalmatians, with the next door neighbor, Clarissa. She ends up framing the Dalmatians, and the SWAT team are on their way over to their house. No owner, no human. Then I believe they end up taking the puppies away. I don't know, it wasn't really necessarily clarified. Or I forget. Well, anyway, the mom, Delilah, who's at work, ends up finding out about this due to Hugo, who is in the hospital thanks to Clarissa herself. I love how he's in the hospital, or the doctors, just for one little thorn that he could easily get out himself. But sure, whatever. Anyway, Delilah tries to get the human that she works with to get to her house, so when the SWAT team arrives, they won't take the Dalmatians away. Instead, they end up taking Clarissa away by the end of the episode, which is kind of goofy, because she gets mad that they don't end up taking the Dalmatians, because Delilah ends up getting the human back to her house before, the SWAT team get there. I don't think it's the SWAT team, the Pound, you know what I mean. So yeah, I think this episode's pretty good. It's a pretty funny one too for Clarissa episode. I like it. Number 9, The DeVille Wears Puppies. So kind of like the summer vacation one, I'm putting both parts together into one. So these are the very last episodes of the series, and boy oh boy did they really do an amazing job with this. Unfortunately, there's only one season of the show, so it is unfortunate. However, I will say that they did an amazing job ending this series off. So, Hunter ends up capturing the puppies, or I should say, he tries to, but he fails miserably. So his great aunt, Cruella, comes to town and does everything herself. And unlike Hunter, she actually ends up succeeding and actually takes all the puppies. It's kind of surreal seeing all these puppies that we've grown to know and love in this series. All of a sudden, now they're getting captured by Cruella, except for Dolly and Dylan, and I think Delilah and Doug. Nah, they get captured, but it's they're not going to be turned into coats. They're going to watch all their puppies be turned into coats. Honestly, this is a pretty dark episode. Not going to lie, but I liked it. It kept me on the edge of my seat, curious on what was going to happen next, and I was really curious to see the way that they were going to stop Cruella. And it was definitely a pretty dark way, but honestly, props to the writers for making this episode a little more darker, but in a fun way, and nothing that's going to make it too unbearable. Cruella has a big machine basically that she wants to put all the pups in to turn them, of course, into fur coats. But her great-nephew, Hunter, realizes who Cruella actually is as a person, and realizes that when he was stuck in the crate, Cruella didn't do anything to help him. So he ends up turning on Cruella and tries to save the puppies. Of course, Cruella isn't fun by this. Something happens and Cruella ends up getting sucked into the machine herself. Sure, although Delilah ends up stopping the machine before anything terrible could happen to Cruella. So she survives, but ooh, yeah, it's definitely, a very interesting scene. And of course she ends up getting wheeled off to jail. Yeah, very interesting. Some of the only episodes that Cruella DeVille is even in, and it's a complete 180 from what the original series went with. With the original series, Cruella DeVille was kind of the goofy character. She was the comic relief, funny, hilarious character. She was basically kind of like Yzma from The Emperor's New Groove in a way. This Cruella DeVille, though, is definitely not that. She gets down to business, and she is generally terrifying. And we're meant to see it in the point of the puppies, which is really great. But because of that one forgettable puppy, Dorothy, who ends up, I guess, being Hunter's favorite, that's how he ends up turning on Cruella. Honestly, this is a really great finale, too. Just a really great series. I also love how we get to see Fergus and his gang trying to help out as well. And even Clarissa tries to help the pups. She may not like them, but how dare a human be mean to puppies like that? So I like how she just kind of joined along in the adventures, or tried to at least. So yeah, this is a really, really, really great finale to the Dalmatian series, and it definitely is deserving of top 10. Number 8, Dottie dancing. Well, isn't this adorable? DJ is finally on the title. But unfortunately this episode doesn't really have to do much with DJ. It's more just about Dylan trying to impress Portia again. What a shame. We could have finally had a DJ episode instead of him just being, that background character. Unfortunately we don't. Instead of just focus more on Dylan and Dolly once again. Oh well, they tried, I guess. I guess this is the best they've gotten so far. Whatever. So anyway, like I said, Dylan's trying to impress Portia. Portia's having a party, and DJ is going to be the DJ, but it has to be deadbeat and boring. However, Dylan cannot dance for the life of him, so DJ, along with a bunch of other animals, along with Fergus and Pom Pom, try to help Dylan learn to dance. Now, a recurring joke that I really love in this series, and a running gag, is every time that Pom Pom appears, she always has a leash attached to her, and her human just always pushes the button, and then Pom Pom just goes flying away. It's hilarious, and I love that running gag. I didn't talk about it much in the other video, so that's why I wanted to talk about it here. Anyway, Dolly is jealous because she thinks that Dylan's putting together this Howling Group Dogs, reuniting the Howling Group Dogs, but obviously that's not the case. And yeah, there you have it. That's basically the episode. By the end, it's revealed that I forget what Portia's trying to do to Dylan. Oh, Portia's trying to make Dylan eat a plate of cat fur. Like I said before, Dylan's allergic to cats, so DJ tries to talk to Dolly before it's too late, and Dolly does save Dylan. You know what? Even though I really would rather this be a DJ-focused episode, it is a good episode overall. And I do really like where this episode's going for. And DJ's adorable. Who doesn't love DJ? Number 7, may contain nuts. Out of all the Dolly Center episodes, this one is definitely one of the better ones. So, Dolly, as I said, loves to skateboard. She loves to do all these tricks and loops and whatever. So that's cool and all. However, and all the pups are cheering on Dolly, and the one who is extremely in love with all these, is extremely impressed with Dolly doing all these cool tricks, is Delgado. He tries to do some little cute things himself. Anyway, they find Sid the squirrel, who is potentially even better than Dolly, and Dolly wants to learn off of him. So Sid teaches her. However, Sid also wants to get into a area that has a bunch of nuts in it, because he's a squirrel and he loves nuts, but he can't get into this because he's weak. So he uses Dolly to get into the little whatchamacallit. I also love, and then I believe Pearl finds them and they go to jail. No, they don't. I don't remember how this episode really ends. I just remember how it really begins and the whole middle part of it. It's a pretty good episode overall, and I love how, oh, that's right, Sid is hiding all the nuts in in Big Ben of all places, sure. And then of course it breaks, and Pearl stops Sid. That's how it works. I do really like this episode, even though it's focused on Dolly, and I wish it was focused on other characters, cough cough Delgado. But I honestly do really like this episode, and I love how Delgado is popping in and out of this episode as well. So I guess this is kind of a Delgado episode. We need another Delgado episode, though. We can't just have one where he's semi-in. Number 6, don't push your luck. Oh, hey, remember what I was just saying about the last episode may contain nuts? Well, this episode is honestly very similar. So in this episode, Dolly is going on a skateboarding competition against Hansel. Remember, Dolly loves Hansel. However, Dolly wants to beat Hansel. But she's a little nervous that she's gonna trip and fall. So she gets help from, I don't remember who this rat character's name is, but she ends up helping Dolly. But she also pushes Dolly around as well. Basically kind of blackmails Dolly. But it's not to the point where it's annoying or anything. And all the pups, of course, like the last episode, love seeing Dolly do all these cool tricks and stuff. And they want to cheer her on at the stadium. However, the rat lady ain't gonna let them through. So she gets Fergus and Sid to stop everyone. Now what's kind of funny is both of the shows, Dalmatian Street and the original series, had rat characters. Of course, the original was Swamp Rat. This one is a different type of rat, but still kind of a street rat. And she's a girl. And she's much better. But this episode kind of reminded me of, like, part of things that Swamp Rat would do in the original series. Well, anyway, obviously the pups are sad that they can't get in, and Dolly's trying to figure out what she wants to do, whether if it's skateboard and look cool and win, or help her family. Of course, she then ends up choosing helping her family, and the rat gets to take a ride on her skateboard instead. It's kind of funny. Also, I feel bad for Delgado in this episode. The one part where Dolly is going through all these little trends of what could and what shouldn't happen, whatever. And the pups just want to get in and see Dolly, and they're just giving Fergus puppy eyes. Oh, it's so cute. Let him in. Let them all in. I love this episode. It's a cute one, and it's a really great Dolly episode, too. Number 5, Boom Night. So, it's time for the fireworks to go off. And it's a whole, I guess, thing with this family, because every time the fireworks go off, they all have to put on headphones so they can't hear it. So they all have to look like DJ, I guess. But DJ can keep his headphones on because, you know, he already has them on. But everyone else has to wear stuff so they can't hear. But I love how they take it, like, above and beyond, and it's not just the noise thing, but they think it's just this big. I love how this show is just so in character for dogs, and not only that, but it keeps all the running gags from, like, the originals, from, like, the movies. Like, they have the Twilight Bark thing still in the show. I really like how they do that. They incorporate things of the movies into this show. However, Dolly wants to hang out with Fergus, but Dylan warns her not to. But, of course, Dolly sneaks out, so Dylan goes and chases her. Dylan ends up at the very top of the firework light thing for some reason, and he ends up running down. They all go back home, and they all end up all the pups end up on the roof to watch the fireworks. It's a great episode, and I really liked this one a lot. And it's fun seeing Dolly and Dylan together in this episode. This is before they got, like, every single episode starred in them. Love them. I just wish they would focus maybe more on some of the other pups too, if you know what I mean. Still a great episode though, I love it. Number 4, London, we have a problem. So this is the first of the big story type of episodes. The first time that, I shouldn't say the first time, but it's one of the first times that we see Hunter DeVille. I think it's the very first time that we see him in the Dalmatian's place. So what happens is that he pretends to be friends with Dylan, in order to, you know, manipulate him. And of course Dylan is going to tell all of his siblings, hey, I like this guy. However, when Hunter gets in the house, he ends up using this big vacuum thing and sweeps all the pups up, including Delgado, who unfortunately can't run really fast in his little wheels. Poor guy. Well, unfortunately, I don't remember too terribly much about this episode, but I do remember really liking it, and I put it on, you know, top 4 episodes. I do like it, and I think they did a really good job with the story-themed episodes of this series. So, yeah, props to them. I like this one. Number 3, Diamond Dogs. So remember my 3rd worst episode? That window one or whatever, where Dolly has the cone of shame? That one is how you do that episode the wrong way. This, on the other hand, this is how you do the episode the right way. For once, it actually isn't starred of Dolly, and instead, we get a decent amount of pups, actually, in this episode. So, in this episode, Clarissa, the next door neighbor, is wearing this fancy collar. However, all of a sudden they see Dorothy playing with it. Oops. So they have to find a way to return the collar without being seen and noticed, because Clarissa and Hugo are kind of bougie people, and dog, whatever. So they have tons of security up, and it's a little bit hard to break in. But they still manage to do it. And along the way, we also get the Dimitri trio, too. Who doesn't love these three goofy goofballs? And in my opinion, this is probably my favorite episode starring these three, just because, I don't know, I love them in this episode. They're just goofy, and they're just having a fun time. Like, they end up making a mess of Clarissa's house, and then they end up blocking the entrance to get back to their house. It's so goofy. I love it. And of course, they realize, wait, her collar's already in there. Well, what is this? And then they soon find out that Pom Pom's owner is selling these. Oh, okay, that makes sense now. However, they end up tripping an alarm by accident, and Clarissa and Hugo come back home from wherever they were at. But lucky for the Dalmatians, they don't ever find them. So Clarissa was the one who would end up. Clarissa and Hugo were the ones that found out about all these different collars. So it's a funny episode overall, and it's one of those episodes that are just quite fun. I really like it. And of course, the Dimitri trio being in this episode is an automatic plus. Number 2, The Wow of Meow. So in this episode stars our favorite how do I say this? Our favorite little I forget the word, it's not coming to me, but if you've seen the show, you know what I mean. It follows our favorite pup, Deepak. The calm puppy. If everything goes haywire, Deepak is there to help. However, he's one of the only Dalmatians who loves cats. In fact, he literally watches them next door and wants to be just like them. However, the Dimitri trio find him and they start making fun of him. And Dylan, finding all these pups, ends up being stuck in the middle. He respects cats, but he's also allergic to cats. But he doesn't want the Dimitri trio to pick on Deepak, but our next door neighbor Cat, who, as you can see in this title screen, is kind of a jerk sometimes. So, Dylan is kind of stuck in the middle, but he ends up sticking up for the Dimitri trio and calls out Mr. Next Door Neighbor Cat. This makes Deepak upset, and he ends up moving away to the, next door neighbor. However, this leaves the house in complete chaos. So Dylan has to get Deepak back. But how the heck is he going to do this? Because Deepak doesn't want to move back in. Well, he has to do a whole bunch of different challenges. And what I do really like about this is instead of Dylan failing all these challenges, he actually does really good. He has to say a haiku. He has to go through, I forget what it is, like a whole yarn maze and stuff like that. And I love how Deepak is happy that Dylan's getting through all this too, but still obviously playing along with the games to kind of teach Dylan a lesson. But I also love how Dylan isn't just being selfish in this episode either. He truly does feel sorry for Deepak and does want him back. And I don't know, Deepak's cute in this episode. And I'm glad that we did get an episode focused on him. This is a really great episode, and I really love this one. This one and the last one, Diamond Dogs or whatever it is, could easily be interchangeable, depending on what mood I'm in. But yeah, I was really surprised, and I really did like this episode. So in my opinion, this is my second favorite episode of the series. But not quite my favorite. So my favorite episode of 101 Dalmatians Street goes to The Nose Job. Ooh, this episode is so good. And I remember the first time I watched this episode, it just blew me away by just how great it is. And yes, this is another two-parter, but both episodes are literally the same thing, so I just decided to group both of them together. It just makes more sense that way. So in this episode, Dylan is in a sniffing competition against a bunch of other random characters like Fergus, Hansel, Spencer for some reason, and Pom Pom also for some reason. And that's not all. Diesel also joins as well, because, why not? He's really good at smelling. And what's actually kind of interesting is that Diesel ends up winning. So, of course, Dolly ends up tormenting Dylan about this. Haha, your younger brother beat you. And it was nice seeing Diesel win. What I do really love about Diesel is he's dim-witted, but it's the fun kind of dim-wit. It's not the dim-wit that gets annoying like Patrick from SpongeBob. It's the dim-wit that's like, oh, so cute. So anyway, all of a sudden, a bunch of random situations happen while at the park. So the park is now closed to the Dalmatians, thinking that they're suspects, because they painted a bunch of spots on random white things, something like that. That just didn't make sense. So anyway, they're trying to figure this out, but all of a sudden they think Diesel's the one who did it. So Pearl comes and throws Diesel into the slammer. Why? I don't even know if Diesel knows what's even going on. And of course the poor guy is upset when he ends up in jail. But then Pom Pom's randomly in jail too, so I guess he has a friend. So Dylan and Dolly, along with a bunch of other pups, including Da Vinci, which this is basically the second other time that I really seen her besides being a background character, and the Dimitri trio and I guess a few other pups end up helping save Diesel from the pound. And it was really fun to watch. And there's just a bunch of silly random moments, like when Dimitri 1 ends up chewing on Dolly's rope when all the Diesel clones are running around and it confuses Pearl. There's a lot of great things, and this is an episode where I didn't even know what was going to come next first time watching. Like the scene where Da Vinci ends up spray painting the wall to make it look like Diesel escaped, but really they escaped through the jail cell. It's great and it's fun, and I love Diesel, and I love how he kind of got his own episode in this one. So yeah, in my opinion, I'd say the Nose Job is my favorite episode from the 101 Dalmatian Street. Wow, what a series! I can't believe it took me till now to finally watch this series, almost 10 years after the show came out. Now, obviously, like I said in the first part, I was going to tell you guys which series do I like better. Obviously, the series is older. It does have this. The series is a longer show too. It does have 2 seasons, more episodes, and it follows the original family, along with Pongo, Perdita, Lucky Rolly, a few newbies here and there, like Tripod, Catpig, whatever. You get your Roger, Anita. Another thing I really liked about the original series is the villains. Corella DeVille and Jasper and Horse are hilarious in this series, and they really honestly make the show, and they're potentially more fun to watch than the pups themselves. However, Street, yeah, it may be shorter. It may be a smaller series, and it does follow a brand new family, so you have to kind of get used to this brand new family, and the fact that the villains unfortunately they're not as funny as the original, but I wouldn't say they're bad. Like, they did a good job with the villains. However, Street basically succeeds in everywhere else. The animation is better, the storytelling is better, the episodes are better, the characters themselves are better, like just some of the clone characters like Cadpig and Dolly. Like I said, I think Dolly's better. Delgado and Tripod are handicap pups. I do love both of these characters, but I think Delgado might take the win for this one. But I do like Tripod too. And then you have, of course, like I said before, the Swamp Rat and that other rat lady. I'd take the rat lady. And then that's another thing, the side characters. I think the side characters in Street are way more fun to watch and way more fun to follow than the side characters from the original series. Because for the most part, I could care less about the side characters from the original series. They were boring and dull, and some of the characters, I could care less about. For that, I was mainly there to see the villains, and I guess the pups if I really wanted to. For this series, though, I'm more invested on the pups themselves, because they show more of them opposed to just, like 9, whatever. I don't know how much the original series showed, but this series, and they're all unique and brand new, ones we've never seen before, and I really like that. Like the series, we don't focus too much on the parents, but I kind of like that. I'm here to watch puppies, not parents. And while, yeah, like I said, I think the villains probably take the lead in the series, or take the point for the series, I'm here to watch 101 Dalmatians, not 101, not Cruella being hilarious while also being in a 101 Dalmatians TV show. So I do get the change, and I do kind of almost prefer the change, just because of the fact that this way I'm actually invested in the pups more. And episode-wise, like I said, the Street Smart definitely blows the series, because the series, I feel like, it may not have a lot of bad episodes, but it definitely has a lot of boring episodes, or episodes that feel kind of the same. Whereas this series, I feel like they really did a great job. Like I said before, if the first half of an episode maybe wouldn't have been quite as good, the second half is usually really great, or like vice versa. And I like a lot of the side characters in this series too. Fergus is great, Clarissa is fine, like the next door cat neighbor. Like, there's a lot of great characters. Hansel's good, Pom Pom. Like, there's a lot of great side characters in this series. And, of course, the animation is much better, too. And it's more interesting seeing them, you know, in the city, because there's so much more possibilities opposed to the country. So, while the series does have a place in my heart for being nostalgic, and it still is a great series, I'm going to have to give the win of the better show to 101 Dalmatians Street. So, yeah, with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this ranking of 101 Dalmatians Street, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.